feel like I necessarily did anything wrong. It's just more so like, I don't think that was an environment I should have found myself in.
I have a question for you, because I think that, a lot of people on the left are under this impression that everyone who was in the Capitol building broke in violently. But I actually think there are two separate groups, right? So there's the group that you see in the initial videos, right? Breaking the windows, breaking into the Capitol. But then there were a lot of people who just kind of wandered into the Capitol after the fact. So my first question to you is,
The vanguard will be there, sir.
Somehow her take has returned.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I butchered what I was trying to say at the beginning of the show about this. What I was going to suggest was I think Lindy Lee may have gotten the main seat in the hosting role, which I had honestly previously thought the better idea would be to put Ana Kasparian in the lead role. I think she has more anchor qualities than any of the other ladies on the panel, despite the criticisms I'm going to offer of Ana Kasparian later in the hour. I don't think Lindy Lee is very charismatic. I don't think she's particularly bright. I think she comes off as a talking points machine and not a particularly good one. However, I did underestimate how much Patrick Bet-David loves to have his ass kissed, and I bet Lindy Lee is tremendous at that behind the scenes.
Yeah, Lindy Lee honestly might be my least favorite of all the hosts. She's just so boring, and also it's just impossible to take anything she says seriously because of the fact that like literally 2 years ago she was working for like the Biden administration. Like she was like literally like a Democratic spokeswoman, apparatchik, whatever you want to call it, one of these like DNC creatures, swamp creatures. She was literally working at the DNC defending Joe Biden and shit. And now we're supposed to take it seriously. And she's done this total ideological one. Again, we give Ana a lot of shit for her pivot, for her like right-wing grift, but it looks downright well orchestrated compared to Lindy Lee's pivot, which again was just so brave and so out of nowhere. But of course, Lindy Lee doesn't have enough actual hardcore fans or listeners for them to really be keeping track or caring in the same way that Ana did. So, it is interesting that it seems like you're right, Zach. Lindy Lee has kind of assumed the role as the top dog, the alpha female of the bunch. We did take a look previously at PBD talking about how whoever the new lead host is, it's going to be someone that lives in the Miami area. And, we speculated that Ana might be checking out, property, looking at the condo market down in Miami, eager to take that gig. Seemingly that hasn't happened yet. Now, we do have another story later on in the show, which we're going to expose you to. A harrowing tale, yes. And maybe the repercussions of that will cause Ana to move out of LA finally. We're going to take a look at that because it's pretty intense stuff. But let's take a look at this first just to set the table. And also just in case anyone wants to feel too bad for Ana Kasparian, take a look at and again, just some more proof of the real direction she's going in, the real people that she's pandering to. She might be right about Israel, but that does not mean that we have to let her off the hook for all of this vile right-wing pandering. This is crazy. In the first 5-6 minutes, she totally humiliates herself along with everyone else, but obviously it hurts more with Ana because she used to be a progressive.
Based. Let's check it out.
Let's take a look. And yeah, they also, introduce, I'm not sure if they're, because as you guys know, what's her face? Jillian Michaels. Yeah, she quit the show. She stormed off. So everyone's waiting to see who the next host is, the replacement for Jillian. It seems like two different options have entered the chat. I don't think either of them are being presented as like permanent additions, but there's definitely, I guess, a bit of an audition process going on here. So let's see, Zach, you can tell me which of these ladies you think is more up for the job, who you would pick if you were Patrick Bet-David.
Hi, everyone. It feels so good to be back, and thank you so much for your incredible support over the last couple of weeks. We see you, and we love you so much. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. We would deeply appreciate it. Today, we have two fantastic guests, Isabella DeLuca and Savannah Hernandez. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming to join us today. Isabella is a conservative influencer and activist best known for her involvement in the January 6th Capitol events. She was finally pardoned by President Trump at the beginning of his second term, and she is known for...
Oh, God. So, yeah, this lady is an activist known for her involvement in the January 6th events. I wonder what that means.
Ana Kasparian literally doing a show with a January 6er. That's insane. That's insane. And you know what, Gavin? I have been through all of the gaslighting. I've talked to so many people who like want to pretend like January 6th was no big deal, blah, 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 blah. It is absolutely insane how far we've fallen as a country where we can't even all agree that a guy trying to steal a fucking election and not recognize our democratic voting, which we're all supposed to find sacred in this country, but a guy who was literally like, I lost a free and fair election. I am going to spit on the Constitution. I'm going to have all of my crazy hillbilly followers go lead a fucking brigade to the Capitol, try and overthrow a U.S. election, and then 4 years later, not only will he be reelected, but people who formerly identified as progressives and Democrats will be cheerleading on the people who tried to help him commit treason.
Yeah. No, it's the most brazen act of treason in my entire life, carried out on the most visible scale possible, broadcast on national television for fucking hours and hours on end. And yeah, here we are. And we're inviting these treasonous fucking criminals, these seditious criminals onto shows like this for people like Ana Kasparian to give a softball interview to. It's genuinely crazy. I mean, again, this is a treasonous fucking a Confederate. You know what I'm talking about? It's crazy that they're allowed in polite society, let alone we're pardoned in mass by the guy who claims to care about crime so much so that he's sending in the, feds, the federales to the fucking streets of America. But either way, let's hear that one more time because it's so funny.
Isabella is a conservative influencer and activist best known for involvement in the January 6th Capitol events. She was finally pardoned by President Trump at the beginning of his second term, and she's known for glam aesthetics, as we all can see, and unapologetic takes on gender culture and conservative youth identity. And we also have Savannah. Thank you so much for coming. She's a political commentator and reporter for Turning Point USA, known for her viral street interviews, border coverage, and sharp critiques of media bias. She was previously banned from Twitter. X, known as X now, and she brands herself as a truth teller, challenging censorship in establishment narratives. We have a lot to cover today. We're going to start with Isabella's firsthand account on everything that went down on January 6th. And then I'm going to dive deep into the government shutdown and tell you what exactly is driving the intransigence on both sides. And Anna is going to reveal yet another shocking turn Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene has made on a number of issues, including immigration.
We talk about how scared Lindy Lee
is going
sounds.
to dive deep into all.
She has a pit in her stomach right now. I can tell. Anybody who's auditioned before, anybody who's gone through a lot of casting calls, anybody who's been to a callback in their life, when you have this like insane energy pulsing through your veins and you're trying not to shake because you're so nervous and you know that eyes are on you and you know that you have to really land what you're saying. And oh my gosh, this is my big opportunity. It's so important you don't make that obvious to everyone, right? And anybody who's been in media for a while, it knows, hey man, when you're panicking, you got to go in the bathroom, throw some water on your face and come out here cool as a cucumber, like nothing's going on. I can feel how frazzled Lindy Lee is. She's rushing to get through this. Her voice is tense. It's quavering. I'm like, uh-oh, bro, you are not cut out for this. You are scared shitless to do your job.
Yeah, I actually think that Amy Dangerfield is a little bit more likable and natural than Lindy Lee. I've always thought that Lindy Lee sucks. She kind of feels like she's more used to doing like cable news hits where she's in and out, defend in the past, the Democrats, nowadays it would be the Republicans. But yeah, she doesn't really seem like natural in a free form, off the cuff podcast setting. Like she's not really personal. She doesn't really share a lot of relatable, funny details or anything like that. She seems like a talking point machine. But yeah, let's keep going.
This drama surrounding the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yes, I can't wait to hear from your guys as well, being a part of Turning Point, to hear your perspectives there.
Absolutely. We're going to start with just a few questions about everything that you experienced. This year has been a whirlwind for you.
Yes,
right?
it has. In a good way.
Absolutely. Why don't we start from the beginning? Why were you there on January 6th? And then you were raided. I believe they even confiscated your laptop and your phone and devices.
Yes.
Tell us what that was all, what was that like?
Well, for January 6th, I was there with a couple friends. I was there for the reason that most people who went there were there for, which is to hear President Trump speak. Eventually, people started making their way down to the Capitol. We just kind of followed the crowd. I got caught up with some friends. I essentially ended up in a meeting room in the Capitol. Oh
my God, they were just there to hear Trump speak. Like it was just a rally that was happening like before the election, not after the election once Trump had already lost. Oh yeah, they were just there to hear him speak, just any other campaign event. Like no, they were literally there, whether they knew they were going to do violent shit or not. They were there to protest a Democratic result of an election that Trump was in charge of. That's the thing. He was president while that election went down, but they still want to say that the establishment rigged it against him. Bitch, he was the establishment. You were there to help install him as a dictator because an election that went down under his watch didn't go the way that you thought it would. So you showed up to protest the Democratic result that your fellow countrymen voted for.
Not just protest, overthrow.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, even the ones that theoretically were there that didn't know that was going to happen.
Sure.
Like they were still there to protest what was undeniably a Democratic result. Their fellow Americans saying, hey, we prefer a different leader. And they said, you know what? I think that's worth showing up in the street to fucking clamor and protest over, and then eventually, obviously, sack the Capitol.
Yeah.
But take a look at the way that Ana Kasparian, talks about this bullshit. It's crazy.
In the midst of all the chaos that was happening, while I was in that meeting room, probably all about 2 minutes, I put my hand on the table. And so the FBI knew that I was there 2 days after the fact. They waited basically 3 years to come and arrest me.
Wow.
Yeah, I was.
Did they find out from social media posts?
Okay, this is maybe where this is a little bit my fault too. They knew from my own social media posts that I was there, right? Like nobody really ratted on me. It was kind of my fault that, if I could go back and redo it, I probably wouldn't have found myself in that environment. I don't.
So I posted about my crimes, right? That's so funny because it's like, okay, well, I wanted all my friends to know that I tried to commit treason or whatever. But then, 3 years later, the government said you can't do that. Oh my God, it was fucking what a nightmare.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm sorry, that's a fucking crime. You can't trespass into the fucking. It's crazy. If you've ever been to the government buildings in DC, I haven't been there super recently, but I remember going as a fucking kid and shit. And there's a lot of security, right? To think that anyone in their right mind would ever believe that they could get away with waltzing in one of those fucking buildings and he what? You think that that's not going to result in penalization or imprisonment or prosecution or what? Are you fucking stupid? Now you want to sit here and play all dumb? Oops.
And these are all the law and order people too. That's what I can't get around. All these people who are like, crime is out of control in this country. Oh, criminals are constantly getting away with whatever crimes. Oh, vagrants are running around everywhere, uncontrolled, unpoliced. It's lawless out here. Meanwhile, this is a legitimate criminal.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yep, 100%. Talking about how dangerous the left is because we made jokes about Charlie Kirk. Meanwhile, these bitches are literally having a fucking criminal element onto their show to talk about how she committed treason.
Feel like I necessarily did anything wrong. It's just more so I don't think that was an environment I should have found myself in.
I have a question for you because I think that, a lot of people on the left are under this impression that everyone who was in the Capitol building broke in violently. But I actually think there are two separate groups, right? So there's the group that you see in the initial videos, right? Breaking the windows, breaking into the Capitol. But then there were a lot of people who just kind of wandered into the Capitol after the fact. So my first question to you is...
Which again is not a fucking justification to commit a crime. If Zac broke into the dude's house across the street violently, smashed the door down, and then an hour later I just wander in through the wrecked door and sit down on the couch, start going through that person's fucking fridge, treat myself to an ice cold Corona, that's also still trespassing, still theft, still a crime. I can still 100% be locked up for that. Just because someone else broke in violently an hour before I got there doesn't mean that I have the right to trespass and do those crimes. It's crazy. This is a defense, again, from the fucking law and order side.
Oh, 100%. And also, guys, I remember TYT did a segment on parents turning in their teenagers after LAPD released footage of them raiding a 7-Eleven. Do you remember that, Gavin? We reacted to it on our show. You guys could go check it out. But they did all this hysteria. Oh, where are the parents at? Nobody polices Los Angeles, right? What did they do? What did those children do? I might add. Anna was so appalled and offended by the fact that these children busted into a 7-Eleven in Los Angeles and rooted around, some of them peacefully, I might add, after their friends had gone in violently and broken the locks. They just went in too. It was such an ordeal. She was so outraged and incensed by this. She does an entire segment on her show, which has nothing to do with Los Angeles local politics or local news at all, right? You were just so butthurt about a couple of kids breaking into a 7-Eleven that you had to do an entire segment. Now you're sitting across from a grown-ass woman who broke into the Capitol building while she was attempting to do a treasonous act, and you're like, she didn't know any better. Oh, what was she supposed to do? It was just her mean friends that were doing some bad things, and she was in a totally separate group. It's crazy. Grow up. This is nuts.
Yep, 100%. And again, I see these clips going viral of her spitting the truth about Israel and people giving her credit and stuff. And it's that's fine. You can give her credit for, going on a spicy rant sometimes, but she is just trying to be the next Candace Owens. She's not actually a progressive. She doesn't give a fuck about this country or our democracy. She doesn't give a fuck at all. She's just looking for internet clicks, trying to go viral. And you see her true colors in moments like this, which is why I find it sickening how much credit we're all expected to give her when, again, the broken clock is right twice a day. It's no, I don't have to sit here and bend over backwards giving this person credit while in the second breath they defend the sacking of the fucking Capitol and attempt to overthrow American democracy. That's actually not acceptable. That's completely inappropriate, specifically for someone who claims to be a populist or a progressive or what. No, you should actually fucking defend our democratic institutions and not the brown shirts that tried to violently install modern day American Mussolini? Are you fucking kidding me? No, that's not acceptable. But let's go back and hear this absolute crap one more time.
So there's the group that you see in the initial videos, right? Breaking the windows, breaking into the Capitol. But then there were a lot of people who just kind of wandered into the Capitol after the fact. So my first question to you is, prior to going to DC to see Donald Trump speak, was it in any way in your mind that you were going to go into the Capitol building?
No.
You didn't expect to do that?
No, not at all. I mean, I know that there was some talk, as you know, if you get a little more into it, you have Ray
But
Alex,
she
right,
did.
the day before January 6th, was encouraging people to go into the Capitol. Was not under my understanding of any of that, was not aware of any of that. I don't think my parents would have let me go, to be honest, if they knew that that was what was going to happen. But
How old
again,
is
to your
this lady?
point, there was violence at a
I think she said she was 24 when January 6th happened, but she's acting like she was 16.
Yeah.
She literally she even talks about later in this episode when the feds finally arrested her, how her first instinct was just that she wanted her mom. She wanted to call her parents.
Bro.
It's like, you're a grown ass fucking woman. Like, geez, it's crazy the way they're coddling. Again, this literal criminal, the seditious fucking criminal.
And not only that, these are the people who want harsher sentences for young people, right? These are people who constantly complain about crime and how, oh, you're just letting people off. And Anna constantly fearmongers about anybody who gets bail, or, oh, wow, this guy was awaiting sentencing and he got to go work his job still. That's what the hell? It's just encouraging crime tourism. You can do any crime you want in Los Angeles. She complains about that all the time. Anna, who do you think those people are? They're young people. They're people who are 24 when they commit crimes. You want soft sentences for people who are 24? That's news to me. That's so anti-policing woke garbage from the left to want leniency and sentencing for young people, right? According to you, you won't even support the ending of cash bail. What are you talking about here? You want to cuddle up to this woman? Oh, she just wants her mom. Bro, don't you think all these 18-year-old kids that get locked up want their mom? Don't you think when you're 22 and you get locked up and you're facing a 5-year stretch, you don't want your fucking mom? Are you crazy? And this woman didn't have socioeconomic pressures bearing down on her to force her to do these crimes. That's just so nuts to have this insane disconnect where you can look at this lady because she's white and you're not intimidated by her, and you can, sense some sort of shared background with her that you can empathize with her. But if it's a kid from probably closer to your neck of the woods in Los Angeles, you're going to be like, throw the book at that kid. He's a criminal.
Or
He's a thug.
Or a fucking immigrant, as they're about to make the point in a second in a sickening fashion.
occurred that day, right?
Yep.
We can't ignore that. But it was a very, very small niche and percentage of people that were violent on January 6th. And the media just completely capitalized on that. And I think that was interesting about my arrest too, because when you hear these stories about January 6th and you see the people that they're arresting, it's like, these veterans and these guys that have served and like these big burly men, and then they arrest me and I'm just like some 5'1" blonde girl. I was in California for an event with Live Action actually, and I flew in, I was exhausted, I was having a rough morning, I went to go get coffee from downstairs, and I was approached by 8 armed FBI agents.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Wow.
who basically were like, Isabella DeLuca, we have a warrant for your arrest.
Wow.
Yeah, because you did treason.
Thankfully, yeah, I was terrified, especially too because I wasn't close to home, and it's like, even though I'm 24, like when you're in that moment, you still want your parents,
And
so
8 armed agents, like, oh yeah, that's totally proportionate force necessary for a
Yes.
5'1"
3 years
woman.
after it
What?
happened.
Yeah.
no criminal record, like not a
Right.
threat.
Okay, so this is under the Biden administration.
Yes.
Where was that energy for illegal aliens, by the way? That was the sort of attitude they should have brought to illegals.
$1 million question.
perspective.
$1 million.
You
have
are
people,
fucking-
Savannah could probably, attest to this because I'm sure.
Yeah. So this is her take. This is what Ana Kasparian, engages in and normalizes for everyone, that they should treat innocent illegal aliens like they treat people who commit treasonous sedition and sack the United States Capitol. Like they should just treat innocent fucking kids and people that were fucking brought here for whatever reason or came here to, try to better their life and their family's life. We should treat those people the same way we treat people that try to overthrow American democracy, a years-long fucking hundreds and hundreds of years-long tradition that has been upheld, but now we're all just supposed to be like, yeah, who cares about the fact that 4 years ago a bunch of fucking violent thugs tried to sack the Capitol and get rid of that thing? Like, what?
This is a shocking new low for Anna. This is a shocking new low for Anna. I mean, I've heard a lot from her, but I mean, this is crazy. Not only the rhetoric that's coming out of her mouth, how docile and gentle she's being, but actually encouraging and talking about how crazy it is what happened to this woman. Like, it is absolutely nutso to do that as you're also on your, like, we need to take crime more seriously kick. Like, what are you talking about? You're sitting next to a it is so mask off and brazen that your problem is with people who are of darker complexion than you. Like, you are literally one of those brain dead fucking people who think that the melanin in your skin determines some sort of inner value that you have, because you have no empathy at all for anybody who's considered a criminal that's brown or black or non-white. And then you see this literal insurrectionist sitting next to you, but she's a blonde bimbo, so you got all the heart in the world for her. I mean, just take your mask off right there.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
You've seen it firsthand. You have people that literally commit like heinous crimes in New York City, for instance.
Absolutely.
That get out same day, that are treated with, less harshness and force than
I also want to
was.
bring this back to something that just happened this week. I don't know if you saw, but Nancy Pelosi was yelling at a reporter on the Capitol steps.
Was it Allison?
I don't know who she was yelling at.
She told the girl to shut up.
Yeah, like she got up in her face. We don't have a clip of this, but she got up in this reporter's face and said, "Shut up," when somebody asked her, why didn't you deploy the National Guard to the Capitol? And she blamed it on President Trump. I want to get your reaction to that.
Listen, I'm not surprised that, Nancy Pelosi is starting to blame Donald Trump and Republicans. She had an opportunity to deploy the National Guard. It was advised to her that she should have deployed the National Guard, and she specifically chose not to.
It's
I
Nancy
think they knew
Pelosi's
what was
fault.
going to happen. I think they wanted it to happen because I think
Yeah, January 6th was actually Nancy Pelosi's fault. I'm no Nancy Pelosi fan, but come on. Come on. Like, just first it was Antifa's fault that all that happened, and now, it's actually Nancy Pelosi's fault. Like, just fucking take some goddamn accountability.
that they wanted to capitalize on it. And for the longest time they did. They literally talked about January 6th like it was a national holiday for 4 years, that to the point when it came up to this 2024 election. Listen, them using January 6th, I think, worked for a very long time in the media. I think, again, they capitalized on it for as long as they can. But then this past election, I feel like they still tried to use January 6th. And at that point, people didn't really care.
Well, the video of Pelosi admitting that she should have ordered the National Guard came out. And for me, that was an eye-opening moment, because she had denied that she had any responsibility. And, she had an
Are you
opportunity to do
fucking
something,
kidding me?
and she decided not to. So,
And it's not even pretending to be like the left flank member of the panel. Like, I'm the one leftist on this panel of right-wing scum. Like, she's not even pretending. She's just doing the tap dance that they want her to do, straight up blaming Nancy Pelosi for January 6th. And that one chick was like, the people cared about January 6th in 2022, but by 2024, they had stopped caring. It's like, that's a fucking indictment of the American public. That's an indictment of the fucking citizenry of this country, that they didn't care, that they just were able to overlook that and vote this monster, this seditious, undemocratic, treasonous piece of shit back into the Oval Office. That should terrify you. You shouldn't be celebrating that.
Yeah, it is crazy. It was the thing that cooked my brain the most. I thought for sure that was like the line in the sand. I thought it was the line in the sand. I was like, oh man, you can't put Donald Trump back in office after that. And boy, I'll admit I was wrong. I thought people were gonna have more, just a deeper memory on that.
Yeah, and be like, yeah, we're not, whatever you think of Trump, we respect like democracy, and you shouldn't try to stay in power after you lose a democratic election. Like, simple concepts that we didn't even really think were like questionable, our entire lives.
Anecdotally, I know multiple hardcore lifelong Republicans, not like friends, but family, that were just legitimately appalled. And not only appalled, but people who they knew who were lifelong Republicans were appalled. And they all just fell fucking in line for Donald Trump again.
Yep. That's how strong the cult mentality is. But yeah. So again, see some people giving Ana Kasparian credit because of the fact that she's been really outspoken on Israel. And, I've given her credit on that too. Same with Cenk. I think that it's like the one area where they actually deserve credit, and they do a good job when they go on like Piers Morgan and stuff. But let's not fucking be dishonest about who Ana Kasparian actually is and the role that she increasingly plays in our media, which is to do that, which is to sit there and to normalize treason and to be like, yeah, it's actually not that bad that our president, commanded a group of brown shirts to go try to overthrow democracy on his behalf and sack the Capitol as well. So, that's the role she plays. Let's just be honest about it. And then, we can give her credit where credit is due.
100%. It's shameful. There's no denying that there's any distinction between an Ana Kasparian figure and a Dave Rubin figure or a Jimmy Dore figure at this point. I think it's hard to say. I wanted to hold out hope. I genuinely did. We were hard as nails on Ana Kasparian, just like we were hard as nails on Jimmy Dore before this. Dave Rubin, before we had a show, he'd already completed his pivot, right? But that is something that I just think is a tremendous betrayal to your audience, right?
Yeah.
Gavin and I will never betray our audience. That's something that I just deeply believe. We might piss you off. We might have to come out here and be like, well, sorry, guys, wasn't my brightest moment. But betray you every single fucking day for years like Ana Kasparian has? It's insane. Like, what the hell is in the water at the Young Turks, right? Because it's just something over there that just makes people sell the fuck out, that makes them go right winger. And I mean, I don't know. It's completely embarrassing as somebody who would have at one point considered her a voice of reason, of progressive politics. You know, even throughout long periods of disagreement, there were times where we would still say, like, hey, you know what, Ana Kasparian, she did good on this. Or we're like, oh, you know, when Ole went on the Young Turks, at least Ana Kasparian was nicer than Cenk was. Like, we held out hope. And and now it's over, right?
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The Vanguard will be there.